Types of giftedness. According to Betts and Neyhart, there is 6 types of giftedness. Not all students are the same. Type 1, the successful. Type 2, the divergently gifted. Type 3, the underground. Type 4, the dropouts. Type 5, the double-labeled. And Type 6, the autonomous learners. Type 1, the successful, most easily undefeatable, may account for out of to 90% of identified gifted students in school. Learn and adapt well with the system, are well adjusted to society, generally have a high self-concept, are obedient, display appropriate behavior, and are high achievers. Therefore, loved by the parents and teachers. However, they can also get bored at school, learn the system fast enough so as to the minimum effort to get by are also dependent on the system. Thus, less creative and imaginative and lack of autonomy. Maaaring umabot sila ng hanggang 90% ng mga natukoy na mga mag-aral na may talento sa paaralan. Matuto at makibagay ng maayos sa sistema, mahusay na nababagay sa lipunan at may mataas na konsepto sa kanyang sarili. Type 2, the divergently gifted. It is one of the most different and challenging. Are the divergently gifted the ones who process the high levels of creativity, do not confront to the system, often have conflicts with the teachers, and parents get frustrated, as the school system does not recognize their abilities, may be seen as the disruptive in the classroom, at the risk of dropping out of school for unhealthy activities like getting involved in drug or exhibiting delinquent behavior. Differently gifted students are those who processes the high levels of creativity, find it difficult to fit into the mainstream educational system. Maaring sila ay nakakitaan na nakakagambala sa silid-aralan o nasa panganib na mag-drop out para sa hindi malusog na dahilan tulad ng pagsali sa droga o pagpapakita ng delinkwenteng pag-uugali. Type 3, the underground, refers to gifted students who deny their talents or hide their giftedness in order to feel more included with a non-peer group. They are generally females who are frequently insecure and anxious as their belonging needs rise dramatically at that stage, and their changing needs often conflicts with the expectation of parents and teachers. These types appear to benefit from being accepted as they are at the time. Kadalasan yung mga gifted students or yung mga talented students, sinay-deny nila yung mga talent nila or yung gift nila para maramdaman nila na kabilang sila sa specific group. Kadalasan sila ay babae na walang katiyakan at nababalisa sa kanilang pangangailangan. Sa pag-aari ay tumataas ng husto sa yugtong ito ng kanilang pag-unlad. Type number 4, the dropouts. Anger and frustrated students whose needs have not been recognized for many years and they feel rejected in the system. Express themselves by being depressed or withdrawn and responding defensively. Are identified very late, bitter, and therefore they are resentful due to the feelings of neglect. Have very low self-esteem, counseling is highly recommended. Ang pagpapayo ay lubos na inirekomenda para sa mga mag-aaral na nalulumbay, nade-depress, or nagwi-withdraw. Type 5, the double-labeled. Gifted students who are physically or emotionally handicapped in or have a learning disability, are some way not easily undefeatable, do not show behaviors of giftedness that can be identified in school, show signs of stress, frustration, rejection, helplessness, or isolation, are often impatient and critical with a low self-esteem, are easily ignored as they are seen as average. School systems seem to focus more on their weaknesses and therefore failed to nurture their strengths. Ang mga ito ay may likas na kakayahan din sa ilang paraan, ngunit hindi madaling matukoy at hindi nagpapakita ng pag-uugali ng pagiging sila ay isang gifted student or sila ay talented na student para makilala sila sa specific na school. Ang mga gifted na bata ay kadalasang may mababang pagpapahalaga sa sarili at madaling binabaliwala dahil sa nakikita silang pangkaraniwan lamang. Type 6, the autonomous learners. Learners who have learned to work effectively in school system, they do not work for the system but rather make the system work for them, are very successful and are parents, teachers, and peers, like by they have high self-concept with a leadership capacity within. Their some surroundings accept themselves and they are risk takers, with goes well with their independent and self-directed nature, able to express their feelings, goals, and needs freely and appropriately. Ang mga autonomous learner ay natutong magtrabaho ng epektibo sa sistema ng paaralan na hindi nila ginagawa para sa sistema. Ngunit sa halip ay ginagawang gumagana yung sistema para sa kanila. Ang mga autonomous learner or mga talented na learner na autonomous ay may mataas na self-concept na may kakayahan sa pamumuno sa loob ng paaralan, at sila din ay risk taker na nagpapahayag ng kanilang nararamdaman ng malaya at naaangkop. 15 signs of a gifted child. You may be wondering how to be identify a gifted child. Well, here are the 15 signs to look for. So first, they sounds like a professor. Yung mga gifted children kasi are more likely to show an extensive vocabulary and be able to speak in complex sentences according to expert. Then number 2, they identify patterns. Pattern identification isn't something to ubiquitous in the little ones unless that it's your little one processes gifted level intellect. Yung mga example nito ay yung mga jigsaw puzzle, tapos yung mga marami pang iba. The number 3 is vocabularious readers. Gifted child, sila yung mga mayroong walang sawang curiosity at babasahin ang mga bawat libro makukuha nila. Ang tanda na ito ay lalong maliwanag kapag may isang bagay na pumupukaw sa kanilang mga interest. The number 4, they are incredible, talented at something. Gifted is just another word for exceptional talented. Ang mga gifted children ay sobrang talented sa mga bagay. That's why they gain the intelligence. The number 5 is they like the company of adults or older child. Dahil sa kanilang advanced intelligence ay nahihirapang makipag-ugnayan sa mga kanilang kaedad, maaaring sila ay hindi maintindihan, kaya naghahanap sila ng company sa mas older sa kanila or mas matanda sa kanila, either yung mas matandang bata or yung mas mga adult, ganon. The number 6 is they have the excellent focus. Most gifted child has an exceptional ability to focus on the things that interest them. Basta once na makuha ng isang bagay yung interest nila, gagawin nila yun lahat para makapag-focus sila. Number 7, they are mature. A gifted child can also have a deep emotional intelligence, kaya kailangan natin na pag-isipan yung mga words na lalabas sa bibig natin when we are talking to them. The number 8, they are original. Gifted children, kaya nilang magbigay ng suggestion or even solution sa mga problema. The number 9, they are leaders. Because of their maturity, they can solve problems and think outside the box. Some gifted kids or children show a remarkable aptitude for the leadership. Of course, these skills are more evident when the child is in desirable setting. The number 10, they don't need directions. Habang ang ilang mga bata ay matiyagang naghihintay sa magulang or sa guro na sabihan kung paano nila gustong gawin or kung paano nila magagawa yung isang bagay, ang mga gifted na child ay hindi man lang nagtatanong, sapagkat naiisip na nila ang mga bagay sa kanilang sarili. The number 11, they have a high energy. Ang mga gifted and talented na bata ay madalas magsalita ng napakabilis, lalo na kung nahihirapan silang ipahayag ang kanilang mga idea o ipahayag ang kanilang sarili. The number 12, they need some me time. Like most gifted children, kids love spending time with the people. Kailangan din nilang maging alone or mag-me time para ma-develop nila yung mga thoughts nila and ma-exercise nila yung creativity nila. Gifted kids enjoy solidarity activities such as reading, writing, and drawing when they are alone. The number 13, they love nature. Gifted and talented children ay mahilig sa mga tanawin at tunog ng kalikasan. Ang kanilang pagkamausisa at mga talento ng pagmamasid ay maaaring ipakita ng buo kapag nasa labas. The number 14, they are underachieve. It is not uncommon for the gifted kids na mag-struggle sa isang subject tas mag-excel sila sa isang subject. Underachievement in gifted children usually are attributable in a short attention span, carelessness, frustration, and boredom. The number 15, the last is, they think learning is fun. Gifted children love learning so much that it becomes a hobby. Because of their advanced intelligence and love of learning, the child may share few interests with his or her peers. How can gifted and talented students be identified? So, classroom environments which encourage creative, divergent, and higher level thinking and an open-ended approach to learning will foster the emergence of gifts and talents. Identification processes should be inclusive to ensure gifted and talented students are not disadvantaged on the basis of gender, racial, cultural, socioeconomic backgrounds, physical or sensory disability, or geographic location. Identification should be flexible and continuous process, a process that allow for the recognition of gifts and talents that may not be apparent at first. Ang kapaligiran sa silid-aralan na naghihikayat sa malikhaing, divergent at mas mataas na antas sa pag-iisip ay isang bukas sa mga bagay-bagay. Ang proseso ng pagkakilala ay dapat kasama upang matiyak ang buong pagkatao ng isang gifted and talented na bata. Ang pagkakakilanlan ay dapat may kakayaang umangkop at tuloy-tuloy na proseso ng isang proseso upang bigyan daan ng pagkilala sa mga gift and talent na maaaring hindi malinaw sa simula. Ability test, intelligent quotient or IQ or cognitive ability test provide information for scores are also used to identify gifted and talented students. While these tests intellectual domain, these tests are not as helpful in identifying someone with creative, leadership, or other abilities. Siyempre, sabi nga, ginagamit yung scores or yung marka upang makilala ang mga gifted and talented na bata. Ang mga pagsusulit na ito ay hindi gaanong nakakatulong para ma-identify kung sino ba yung creative, kung sino ba yung magaling sa leadership, at sa iba pang mga skills. Because intellectual intelligence is sinusukat lang niya kung paano ba mag-isip yung bata sa mas malalim na pamamaraan. Intervention and therapeutic management for disorder. So we have here 9. The first one is intervention. The lack of a clear definition that recognizes the unique characteristic and needs of a gifted students with learning disabilities has resulted in few specific programs being developed. The number 2 is individualized education program. Gifted students need a high level or gifted programming in their areas of strength, developmental instruction and subject. Kailangan talaga na may separate program para sa kanila. The number 3 is special classes for gifted students with learning disabilities. Gifted students with learning disabilities should receive instruction sensitive to their specific academic, social, and psychological needs. The number 4, using or adapting existing services. You must adapt yung mga services para ma-meet mo yung mga needs ng mga gifted students. Gagamitin mo yung services na yun para ma-enhance yung skills mo on how to deal with the gifted students. Number 5 is instruction in general education classroom. The general classroom is becoming a place where the teacher are expected to meet the needs of a wide range of students. In school that continue to offer separate services and programs for gifted and learning disabilities. The general classroom serves primarily as the place where the curriculum is at or about the grade level. The number 6 is program and services for gifted students. Program for gifted students vary considerably in the form and content. Problems with identifying gifted students with learning disabilities may prevent them from being included in program for the gifted. Acceleration and enrichment program modify the curriculum or expose students to topics not normally included in the curriculum. The number 7 is resources for students with learning disabilities. Gifted students with learning disabilities may benefit from sometimes spend with a specialist. A special education resource room setting is unlikely to be best environment for providing intellectual stimulation. The nature, severity, and the cause of gifted students' disabilities must be considered when evaluating placement. Number 8 is teaching strategies and adopted techniques. The importance of gearing the curriculum to the strength rather than the weaknesses of academically talented students with learning disabilities is widely acknowledged. Carving big tasks into the smallest units and using praising, peer tutoring, and cooperative activities are some of the techniques that can help to ensure the success. The number 9, the last is counseling. Gifted students with learning disabilities may experience conflict between desire for the independence and feeling of dependence. Parents should not overlook the importance of providing counseling for the students. Some students may require the attention that is more likely to occur in one-on-one individual counseling.